Hey everybody, welcome back to Vanland. So over the past several years, we've worked with hundreds of do-it-yourselfers who are building out their dream van, and we've identified some common mistakes that we see first-timers make over and over. So we wanted to share with you guys our top 5 mistakes that DIYers make, especially for those of you who are out there getting ready to start your own van build. We're hoping to help you guys avoid some of these pitfalls and have the most successful build possible. Mistake number 1 that we see all of the time is underestimating the time it takes to build out a van. So one of the questions that I love to ask people when they first get their van and they're starting out on their build journey is, how long do you expect it will take for you guys to finish your van? And the most common response I get would be in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 months, maybe 4 months, somewhere in that neighborhood. Usually people estimate that it will be less than a 6-month process. But in reality, and we've seen this over and over, DIY builds more commonly take in the neighborhood of 12 to 18 months to build it out, and some of them even longer than that. So most people are not able to work on their van full time and don't really take that into account, but even the folks that we see working consistently on their van, like 2 hours every day and then 6 hours a day on the weekend, most of these van builds are still taking about 12 months. Hopefully, by avoiding some of the other mistakes that we're going to mention in this video, it will help you guys cut down the overall time of your build. And I would also say that if you really need your van done in less than 12 months, then get the help of a professional shop on some of the things that are going to be harder for you to do, or maybe that you don't have the tools for. So an example would be installing a window. Most DIYers take this part of the project on themselves, but if you don't have the right tools to do the cutting and it's your first time installing a window, it's going to take you a long time, much longer than it would take a shop. And if you run into any problems like the window has a leak in it, or you get glue on the van as you're applying the window, it could take you a whole weekend to remedy this problem. So if you really need some help, talk to a shop. Mistake number 2 is building the van out of order. So there is a proper order to build a van, and if you get things out of order, it will definitely take longer, cost more, and be more frustrating. So we see DIY builders commonly spending money on the easy things first, and that's not necessarily the best way to build a van. So an example of that would be putting on a roof rack and a ladder, because it's really exciting to get a roof rack and a ladder. You know you want one anyway, so why not just get it now? But if you haven't done the cutouts in the roof and done a proper leak test, then your whole roof rack and ladder system may be coming off so that you can actually perform that work when you need to. Another example would be someone spending $6,000 on new rims, new tires, and a suspension kit before they've even put in a vented window, a fan, or a heater in their van. So our philosophy is that you want to build the van, first of all, so that you don't have to go back and do things over. And then secondly, you want to build so that your van has progressively more value as you build it out. Step number 1 in building out a van is to do all of the exterior cutouts first. So anything that requires a hole in the van should be done early in the build in phase 1. As an example, putting in fans, windows, skylight, air conditioner. You really want to do all of those things first, get the components installed, and then do a leak test. After this point, you'll never have to cut another hole in the van, and if there is a leak with one of your installations, it's easy to identify and fix right away. Step number 2 is to get your insulation, sound deadening, and wall panels up with a basic lighting kit. And along with a heater and a simple bed, you can have a van that allows you to travel. So maybe you don't have all of the fancy wheels and tires on it, and it might not look as cool from the outside, but your van is functional and gets you out doing the things that you got the van for in the first place. Mistake number 3 is not having a plan when building your van. So you would not build a house without having the plans drawn up and having them looked over by a professional. As a matter of fact, it's such a bad idea that it's illegal in most places to build that way, and we certainly don't recommend that you build your van without a plan either. You are about to spend a lot of time and money on this, so it's worth thinking about the entire project, All of the details, even though it takes a long time, putting them down on paper and having something to reference as you go through the build step by step. We find that the vast majority of people, and this is DIYers and also people who are taking their vans to a shop as well, they want to build in stages. And building in stages can be an okay way to approach the project, but you certainly don't want to be designing it in stages and adding new components as you go. This will inevitably lead to a lot more costs, unnecessary custom modifications, more time, and then frustration having to go backwards and do things that should have been done earlier simply because you didn't have a plan. Please take the necessary time to make a plan and have it reviewed. And this is something that we do for our clients. If you've got ideas and a bullet list of what you're looking to have done with your van, please reach out to us. We can do a consultation and go over your build and just make sure that you're heading in the right direction and you're doing things in the right order. Mistake number 4 is building a van like you build a house. Building a van is a lot more akin to building a boat than a house, so those are really the skills that would translate. For example, all of the electrical, plumbing, the woods you would use, pretty much everything that's used inside a mobile vehicle is going to be different than what you would use inside a house. We actually had a van come in with a client that had begun work on it, and they did their entire electrical system on the inside as you would do a house. So with Romex wire, large electrical junction boxes, large switch panels, and even a screw-in light bulb on the roof, the way that you would put a light bulb in your house. And really none of this is appropriate for the environment that a van has. So even though you may be a good home builder or have a friend that's helping you that knows how to build houses, a van is really built in quite a different way. A couple more examples of things that we see are putting wooden strips on the floor. Before you lay down a subfloor, we've seen a lot of people put wooden strips down that they then insulate and lay a floor on top of as if you were building the frame of a house. And really, this is just creating unnecessary work and complexity. There are much simpler ways to do the floor of a van. Another question that we see a lot of people ask is, what about a vapor barrier in a van? And of course, vapor barriers are very appropriate for homes because the inside of a house is a climate-controlled space where you can keep a relatively steady humidity level. But in a van, most of the moisture that's created is actually coming from inside. It's produced when you're breathing and when you're cooking and when things that might be wet are put inside the van. So you don't want to trap that moisture in a van. A van is not really a climate-controlled space. It experiences large fluctuations in temperature and humidity. So the conventional wisdom is that a vapor barrier is really not needed in a van. You actually want the van to breathe. So avoid mistake number 4, which is building your van like a house. A van is not a house, so don't build it like one. And finally, mistake number 5 that we see is incorrect sizing of the power system. So it is really important to have a high quality power system with multiple ways to charge. And we actually see DIY builders commonly overestimating the amount of power they actually need for their van. So the reality is that vans don't actually use all that much power these days. Most of the equipment has been made to be really efficient. And as long as you remember the ABC of power systems, which is always be charging, and you have some solar on your van, your alternator charge, and the option to plug into shore power to charge your batteries, then you probably don't need quite as big of a power system as you might think. So the minimum size of power system that we would recommend for pretty much any van is a 200 amp hour battery with 3,000 watts of AC power. That will get most people the power that they need to do basic things. But if you have a full build where you have more things running, then 400 amp hours with a 3,000 watt inverter is probably going to be more appropriate for you. And then if you're a person who either has an air conditioner, you plan to live in the van, or you know that you're going to be parked for extended periods of time without driving, then you might consider the 600 to 800 amp hour power system. So we have a whole playlist on power systems, so you can watch all of those videos if you want to get a really good idea of what we recommend and what size power system that you need. And otherwise, if you still can't figure it out, of course, you can give us a call or shoot us an email, and we can walk you through the process of figuring out how much power you're going to use and then how big your power system needs to be to accommodate that. As you are starting out on your van build process, we totally get it. It's super exciting, and the tendency is to just throw yourself into it, but there are definitely some common mistakes and pitfalls, and that was our intention with this video, is to hopefully help you avoid some of those and have the most successful build possible. So if you guys need additional help, feel free to reach out to us. We can definitely schedule a call with you and listen to everything that you've got going on with your build. And if you're about to buy some products, we just developed a new rewards program for our website, so you can actually get rewards, points, and free stuff with every purchase you make. All right, that's it for this week, you guys. Thank you so much, and we will see you guys again next time.